Hi everyone, so I'm here today with Darren and we're going to talk about driving anxiety. So just a couple of things to ask you first of all. Are you aware this is being recorded?
Yes.
Yep, and are you happy for this to go online on YouTube?
Yes.
Yep, that's great. So just ask you a few questions, then I'll get you to ask me anything you might need to ask. So the first question is, what's the problem?
Well, my problem is basically I'm scared to drive. I do drive, but I'm very uncomfortable the whole time in various degrees. And this goes back to a specific incident last year. It was actually it was 1 year ago tomorrow because I remember the date because we were on the way to my sister's 50th wedding anniversary, about 2 hours away. And it was a beautiful day for November. It was chilly, but the roads were clear, and my wife and I were just enjoying a nice leisure trip. About an hour and a half into the trip, I had a very scary episode. So I'm driving along, no traffic, 3-lane expressway, and all of a sudden, I have this vicious spinning sensation, very quick, less than a second, but it was very severe. And so I didn't know what to do. I pulled. I was in the middle lane, so I had to go over a lane to get to the shoulder and come to a stop and just take a deep breath and try to figure out what was that. What just happened. So after waiting a few minutes, I thought I was ready to get back on the road. So I get back on the road in the slow lane, and I'm very nervous, and I can't go the speed limit. Traffic is passing me, and I'm just scared to drive. I'm frightened, and everything seemed real fast. So we finished the trip to the hotel, and then we went to the party that night. The next day, we had to drive all the way back 2 hours. And unfortunately, I was in that same mode where I could not get up to speed. I was white knuckle on the steering wheel, very over alert at cars and cars coming from behind. Trucks were scary. So I just struggled through it and got back home. And I didn't have to drive for a couple of days. But the next time I drove, especially on the expressway, I had that same feeling of just doom. Like I basically feel like I'm doing something dangerous.
Hmm.
That's basically what it feels like. And so it's been almost a year now, and I'm still
Yeah.
struggling. I'm just kind of on a journey to try to resolve this and
So
get back to normal.
what have you tried to resolve it?
Well, it's been a long road. Right away, my wife was saying, "You need to be hypnotized. You have a phobia. You need to be hypnotized." And I'm like, "Oh, whoa, that's crazy." But she was half kidding, half serious. So I was trying to figure out, maybe it was a physiological problem of mine. Maybe I had something going on with my equilibrium. I looked into the vestibular system in the middle ear, and maybe that was off. So I was trying to do exercises to help that. I looked at the vagus nerve and trying to reset the vagus nerve. There's things online about exercises and meditation. So nothing's really been helpful. I've done some meditation. I've watched your videos.
Hmm.
Early on, I think I became a subscriber to your channel maybe in December. I'm just not sure, but early on, I found your channel, and that's been a great help as far as support.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm not crazy, and you have some good tips on there as far as what might work and what definitely doesn't work. So I keep that in mind.
I
And
can tell you
I'm
one
basically,
thing. So you can carry on.
well, I'm just on a journey, and I'm optimistic that I'll eventually uh, fix this,
Yeah.
and soon, because it's kind of getting old, and it's like, okay, I need to do something and take care of this.
Because what I was going to say is, you said that your wife said you needed to be hypnotized. One
Yes,
thing people often don't realize is, do you realize you've already hypnotized yourself?
I understand that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
understand. My subconscious is trying to tell me that, ooh, this is dangerous. Don't do it. You know?
Because
And so I need to overcome and have I need someone to speak to my subconscious and to set it straight again.
yeah,
I
because
think
sometimes
that
people say hypnosis doesn't work, but they don't realize that's what you've already done. When you were driving, you've already gone into hypnosis and you've hypnotized yourself into believing you can't drive when you can. So what you actually do is you don't hypnotize people and fix it. My job is to unhypnotize you. It's all the other way around. It's what people think. So just imagine you're describing this to someone who has never watched a video about anxiety. They don't know what it is. They don't understand it. How would you describe the feelings you get when you're driving? If I wanted to kind of experience it myself.
right. Well, first of all, it's like a box of chocolates. Like I never know like what my mind is going to be when I go for a drive. There's no way of knowing how bad I will feel, how good I will feel, how confident or unconfident. So it's really a variable. You don't know how you're going to feel the next minute. You could be fine on the road, and then your mind could just get into this tornado where you start to panic and you start to think catastrophic, types of thoughts. You're always thinking the worst. Before I would see a semi truck, it's like, oh great, yeah, they're big, they're heavy, but just get around them. Now I see a truck, and it's like, if I'm behind a truck, I have a decision to make. Am I going to try to overtake that truck to continue on, or am I just going to sit tight and
Mm.
follow the truck? So it's really annoying. It's hard to tell how I'm going to feel.
How does it
And
feel physically, like in your body? What do you actually experience?
yeah, physically, like early in a ride, when I first get on the expressway, often I will be warm. Like I will be hitting the AC or turning down the heat and trying to cool off because I will have a very sweaty sensation. That's just in the initial 5 minutes maybe. After that, it's just a lot of apprehension. I have the grip on the steering wheel is everything for me because that's my rock, and I'm holding on to it way too tight. I know
Mm.
that, and I know how I'm doing mentally by how tight I'm holding the steering wheel. So,
Mm.
which is usually pretty tight. Um, so, especially at high speeds. So, it's there's a lot of I have a lot of uh, tendencies, I would call it, on the road. I do not like people when I see people in my rear view mirror coming from behind. I That gets me nervous. I don't like that. I think part of that is because I'm going slow, and
Mm.
so I get kind of self-conscious that, oh, those people are going to come up and they're going to see I'm going so slow. They're going to wonder what's wrong with me. I like to follow people because it's easier to follow somebody and know like where the road is going and how fast I can go safely and things like that.
Mm.
So I'll just tuck in behind a slower moving vehicle and just continue on the way.
Yeah. So
So,
something people often ask, I know what the answer to this is, but this is what people often ask in the comments. If you know you're going slow, why don't you just go faster?
oh, well, easier said than
Yeah.
done. I'm looking at that miles per hour on my dashboard, And I'm like, oh, I got to get it up. I got to get it up. This is, I'm a danger, traffic. So um, I wish I could just, you're not free to do that.
Mm.
I can't just like go faster. That would be traumatic for me. That would be stepping way out of bounds, like unsafe. I'm just not ready for that.
Mm.
So there are times when I can, if I'm on a longer trip, sometimes towards the end of that trip, I can feel I'm gaining a little bit of confidence. I can go a little faster. I can be a little more aggressive. Um, and then I'll get home and like, ooh, maybe I can do this. But then the next day I get out on the expressway and it's that same
Mm.
feeling of being trapped
Yeah.
comes
And
back.
have you got any idea what may have caused this?
Yes. My latest theory is, just because it was a spinning sensation that scared me. I think it goes back to an incident I had when I was 25 years old. I was in a restaurant slash bar, meeting with friends. My wife, well, she wasn't my wife yet, but she was with me, a couple of friends. And I was standing up in the back of the bar and I took a sip of my drink and I felt this pressure in my chest, like an air bubble, like I had to burp. Like, oh, that didn't go down. It went down the wrong pipe.
Yeah.
The next thing I know, uh, a doctor, I'm on my back, but the doctor is telling me, I'm a doctor from Detroit. You're going to be fine. An ambulance is on the way, and just hang in there. You're going to be fine. So I had passed out. I had just
Mm.
dropped, just passed out hard on a cement floor. They put a gash in the back of my head, and they were applying towels and whatnot to stop the bleeding. And at the hospital, they stitched me up, and they took an X-ray, and the X-ray was fine. The skull was intact,
Mm.
and that's it. So I guess that was a vasovagal syncope incident, I
Mm.
guess is what they call it. And it was very scary, and I had trouble going in public, like a public restaurant or a bar
Yeah.
where there would be noise, like people talking in the bar. That would bother me. I would be
Yeah.
very uncomfortable because that was the situation when this happened.
So how have you linked that to the driving?
Well, I think that when that spin happened, I think my subconscious was like, it's happening again. You're going down.
Yeah.
This is you're passing out.
Yeah.
That's basically
Yeah, because this is what I say about how it's not driving. So that event will most likely have something to do with it. Before that time you were 25, was there anything else that happened similar with the same kind of feeling?
I've passed out or was very close to passing out in different circumstances, like getting blood drawn for a blood test.
Hmm.
I tried to give blood in high school for a blood drive, and the nurse like pricked my finger to get my blood type, and I was starting to get dizzy, and she was like, "Oh, you're not doing too good. We gotta lay you down."
Yeah.
So I didn't try to give blood after that. But there's been incidences where I passed out or come close to passing out, and so that's kind of a fear of mine, I think, in
Hmm.
general, because of this. I
So
don't know what
how old,
causes it.
sorry, how old would you say you were when you first had the first instance of this passing out?
Boy, I think the high school junior year in high school for that blood drive was my first time close to passing out, like getting
Hmm.
dizzy, and they had to help me.
Did you realize
Um,
what you just said then, by the way? Sorry to interrupt you, but did you realize what you just said?
no,
What
no,
did you have done when you was at school? What was it they were doing with your blood?
they were just pricking for my finger for the blood type.
Hmm.
They were like, we have to just get a little blood to get the blood type
Yeah.
before we do the actual blood, donation.
Yeah.
So
They have to kind of draw the blood out.
right.
It's just interesting when you said just. Do you have any ideas what you just said? Because it's really interesting what you said.
What is it? What
You
did
just said, you said when I had a blood drive.
blood drive?
Yeah, you didn't say draw, you said drive. That's
Okay.
interesting.
I mean, it was a blood drive,
Oh,
like
right, sorry, that's the term, yeah.
yeah, it was a blood drive, like a like a charity thing where everybody gets together and
Oh,
does
I see what you
something.
mean, yeah. Sorry. It's sometimes
Yeah,
people replace words because they say a drive instead of a draw. If that's
right,
fine. Yeah. This
right.
way I have to be careful I don't get too clever and mess things up.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. That's right.
So what's the worst thing about having this problem?
It's just it's being uncomfortable, very uncomfortable on the road, and it tends to interfere with your social activities. I think twice before agreeing to drive a half hour, to an event or something. It's like, let me set this one out, or maybe I can have my wife drive
Hmm.
or something. So it's limiting. I'm able to drive. It's just that I'm very uncomfortable with
Yeah.
it, and I just there are times when I avoid the expressways. I might take a little bit longer route to where I'm going just to avoid the expressway.
Yeah.
So I think that's because the expressway, I feel trapped because there's no like parking lot or driveway that I can just pull into at any time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas a 2-lane road, if I'm not feeling good or whatever, it's like, let me just duck in here at this parking lot. Just
So you need to have an escape.
right. I
Yeah,
need to
that's
have
the
an
common
escape,
thing. Yeah.
and that's a big thing. Just knowing that if need be, I could just pull off. That's a big thing as far as confidence goes
Yeah. So we've
at
got
the
two more.
expressway.
So two more questions. I don't want to keep butting. It's just sometimes the sound goes off a bit. So don't know that.
Oh,
So, what would you say to people who say, "Look, to get over this, just fight it, just push through"?
no, I mean, in hindsight now, um, I should have looked more at hypnotherapy right away. Um, and so, in hindsight, I should have pulled the trigger on hypnotherapy and really gotten serious about this and taken the time, spend the money, and just get it taken care of for good. Otherwise, it's going to linger. You might start to feel a little bit better and
Hmm.
start gaining confidence, but then you'll be surprised out of nowhere, boom, you are still dealing with the problem.
Yeah. My last question: have you got a cat?
I do.
Yeah, I was just wondering because I kept doing a cat. Yeah.
Oh
I
yeah,
wondered if it was
I
a.
tried
No, it
to.
doesn't matter. I just wondered.
Yeah, yeah, I do have a cat. I took measures to keep the door closed, but
That's all right.
he's lonely.
I like to get involved in calls.
Yeah.
So, have you got any questions for me?
Well, I guess I'm curious. Is my situation common, and is it what you see in your practice, and also what advice do you
Yeah.
have for me at
It
this
is
point?
very common because the one reason I'm pleased with doing this video is a lot of people think that their problem is unique, and I think I'm the only one in the world who's got this. No one else will ever have had this. It's actually really common. And one thing you mentioned was about going to a wedding anniversary. I actually made a video about 6 months ago about that because a lot of people have this when they go to weddings. I don't know. I've never worked out exactly why, but the number of people who say I was going to a wedding, an anniversary, even a funeral, not the same thing, but some kind of event. It's interesting. My theory on that is just because it's such an emotional thing, it's a big emotional event, it brings something up. That's the only theory I've got. Yeah, it's quite interesting. And you asked about advice. The best advice is to find what the problem really is, which you've already done a bit of today, because you said you went back to when you were doing this blood drive. So, what was it about that made you feel bad?
Yeah, well, something's wrong with me. All the other students, they were not having any problem,
Hmm.
and what's wrong with me? How come I have this problem? And so now it's just kind of multiplied, because any office visit at the doctor, they want to draw blood. I'm like, okay. So it's a thing for me where I
So
need to.
it still affects you now, drawing blood.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how do you feel if I said to you now you've got to go and draw blood, like now? What happens when you think about that?
Well, I would think about measures that I can take to mitigate any issues I might have. So for me, any medical situation, I need to have a way out. I need to know how to get out of here. Like if I'm in a new place and I'm going down this hallway, turning left, going upstairs, down, and I could not get out of the situation I'm in, I feel trapped, and I'm going to have trouble. I'm going to sweat. I'm going to, so it's just a matter of setting myself up for success and knowing, obviously I don't look at the blood being drawn and, going up the tube. Definitely can't look at that. And I just kind of, stay focused on the wall, or something that might be on the wall and whatnot. So I just take measures to mitigate that.
So can you see any parallels between that and what you said about driving on the lanes, or in the lanes?
Yes, there are parallels, because, I'm going to take measures, anything that might help me get through this. One little thing that I've been doing lately is, the little thing on the mirror where you can dim the lights behind you.
Oh, yeah.
I've been doing that just to kind of help, like, block out some of that stimulus, from the back. Just any little thing like that, I'm going to do to try to mitigate the risk of having a.
So if you went to get blood drawn, let's say somebody locked the door, there's no way out, that would make it worse. Yeah, up top.
Very, very worse. I would, if that had to happen, I would request to lay down. Like, if I could lay down, have at it. If I'm laying down, you can poke me as much as you want. I don't care, because I'm laying down. So
the reason I'm asking that is because that's linked, this is what I mean about it's not about driving. That's your real problem, because you asked about how it can help you, any tips. What I'm wondering is, where does this need to come from to get out, to escape? Any idea what that's all about?
Yeah, I don't know.
No, this is what you won't know consciously, but that's what you'd find out when you do hypnosis or whatever. You'd find out where that comes from, because there's something about that. I don't know what it is, because I don't have the answers you do, but there's something about this need to escape when you was in school, having his blood drawn. That's how you're going to fix this, to find out what was going on there. It probably won't be anything to do with that directly, but there'll be something about having to get out. Or you said about what other students were thinking about you. Why does that matter, what other people were thinking?
Well, I mean, it's just less so. Like, the older I get, I think it's maybe a little less, but it's still I'm very conscientious of the people around me and what they think, way more than most people I meet with. Out on the road, it's like, if somebody's coming from behind, most people be like, what, they're behind me. It's like, who cares? But for me, I'm like, oh, they're going to see I'm going slow. And that's, I don't want to draw any attention to myself. And so I just don't like, the people coming up from behind with this. Now, if I was like before I was, it wouldn't bother me, because I'm a good driver. I would be able to, go the speed limit and just do normal things and blend in with everybody. But now I feel like I'm sticking out like a sore thumb, and something's wrong with me. And so I just don't like that. I'd much rather be following people that are looking forward instead of coming from behind.
So is there anything else you want to ask?
No, I think that's some very good insight. I appreciate that.
That's good. So I can't give you the answer, because sometimes people think I can just tell you the answer. There isn't an answer for me, it comes from you. But it's definitely something to do with that thing about not wanting to draw blood. because you've already traced that back. You know, that's long before you were driving or before you had the driving problem. So that's what you need to work out, how that affected you. Why? I don't like saying why, because why is not always the best way of doing it, but why it affected you and how it affected you. If you can ever think about that, you can fix this on your own. If you can trace it back like that and you think, what was going on in my life? What bothered me so much about being seen like that? Because I remember at school, there was one kid in my class who was a bully, and he actually passed out having an injection. And everyone laughed at him, and he was never a bully again because everyone used to just laugh at him. It completely changed him. So, yeah, I'm not saying he was a bully, but I always remember that. Yeah. Right. Anyway, so thanks a lot for that. That's been really helpful. That will help a lot of people.